Yes, Chair. All members of the board are present.
Thank you. Before we commence, I'd like us to take time to pay our respects to Constable Jennifer Landry, who lost her life on October 13th as a result of an off-duty accident at her home. Constable Landry was a member of our Temiskaming detachment, posted in Englehart and residing in Kirkland Lake. Our condolences go to Constable Landry's family, friends, and colleagues. Will you please stand to observe a moment's silence in Constable Landry's memory? Thank you. Please be seated. I'd like to advise the board that there has also been a donation made to the GoFundMe Landry Memorial from our Police Services Board. Okay, carrying on with the business of today. Item 3, is there any addendums or announcements, additions, deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask for approval of the agenda. Resolution number 202019. Be it resolved that Temiskaming Shores Police Services Board approves the agenda as printed. I have a mover and a seconder. Dan? Tyler? All in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature? Seeing none, we'll carry on. We do not have any presentations or delegations under item 6. Item 7 is resolution number 2020-20. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Temiskaming Shores Police Services Board meeting held on June 22nd, 2020 be approved as printed or amended. Can I have a mover and a seconder for this, Monique and Tyler? Thank you. Are there any questions, concerns? Seeing none, it will be as printed. All in favor of that motion? Motion carried. Moving on to item 8, communications. Item A, a letter from Sergeant Kelly Withrow, Municipal Policing Specialist, re-OPP Policing Contract Renewal. That will be referenced to 11B for discussion. Item B, Phil Whitten, Superintendent Commander, Municipal Policing Bureau, Ontario Provincial Police, 2021 Annual Billing Statement. That will also be referenced to 11C for discussion. Item C, Rick Joel, Senior Advisor, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO letter to Phenom, OPP Detachment Board discussion paper, received for information. Item D, Richard Stubbings, Assistant Deputy Minister, Public Safety Division, Ministry of the Solicitor General, Court Security and Prisoner Transportation, received for our information. Item E, Angela Latrentra, Acting Director, Safety Program Development Branch, Ministry of Transportation, School Bus Step Arm Camera Program, also received for information. Oh, I'm sorry, should we stop step arm, yes, okay. I think I said stop. Item F, Holly Dottie, Ontario Association of Police Service Board, Re-Inspector General of Policing, received for information. Item G, Sylvie Jones, Solicitor General, Minister responsible for anti-racism, Ministry of the Solicitor General, Anti-Racism Initiatives, and the Anti-Racism Dictoriate. That is also received for information. I'll get a mover in a second and we can discuss. Be it resolved that the Police Service Board agrees to deal with communication items 8A through 8G according to the agenda references. Mover and a seconder, please. Tyler and Monique. Any questions concerning that? No? The only thing I will tell you, there was on there with the company that are going to study the prisoner transport. They've just sent a message out today that that is being awarded to Goss Gilroy Incorporated, a company with expertise in public safety and security. So that's the review of the prisoner transport and court security. Seeing none other questions, all in favor of that motion? Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 9, the OPP business. We'll turn it over to Inspector Bro for his report, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, all members of the board. Before I get into the report, I'd just like to thank you for acknowledging Provincial Constable Jen Landry. Your gesture is greatly appreciated. It's a tragic loss, and our office is quite affected. Yeah, Jennifer has a big impact on all our members, and your support is greatly appreciated. Moving on to the report. Kelly has distributed all the reports there earlier last week. Thanks for doing that, Kelly. I'll be referring to the Police Services Board report for Temiskaming Shores, and for public complaints. There's no report to the OIPRD or to myself, so no complaints for this quarter. In regards to secondary employment, no requests were filed during this quarter. Referring to the daily activity reporting and patrol hours, number of cruiser patrol hours was at 1,441.25 hours. Marine detail hours, 26.5 hours. Foot patrol hours, 11. In regards to transfers, there's no transfers to report. I have some requests submitted to our regional headquarters and to the general headquarters to see if we can overfill our detachment. We're running short on resources, and we're looking at further manpower to assist. In regards to promotion, a new promotional process has been implemented for all ranks, and we're just starting to re-advertise for some of the positions that were vacant for quite some time. And normal recruiting and fulfilling of these positions has resumed under the new policy, new guidelines. In regards to recognition, I just thought it'd be fitting to mention an occurrence that had transpired in New Lisker. We're really proud of the work and response of their officers, and I'd just like to provide some details. So on the 10th of September, a female who was suffering from mental health issues attended the Temiskaming Hospital in New Lisker. The female was assessed and issued a Form 1 under the authority of the Mental Health Act. At 1:25 a.m. hours, the female left the Temiskaming Hospital in her motor vehicle. The female attended the New Lisker Marina, where she drove her motor vehicle down the boat launch and into the lake. The vehicle traveled at such a high speed that the impact caused the airbags to deploy. The female was in the water trapped, and her vehicle that was submerging. Constable Dave Lalone and Sergeant Kevin Murphy were quick to respond. They arrived at the scene a few minutes later. When they arrived, the vehicle was in the water, approximately 50 feet from shore, and taken on water. The female, who was still in the driver's seat, was yelling through the open window that she could not swim, that she was going to die. The officers removed their use of force equipment, and they entered the frigid water and swam to the vehicle to assist the female, who had become frantic. The officers were able to direct the female from the vehicle before it completely submerged. They escorted the female subject to the care of Constable Adams and PC Derek Shillinglaw, who were waiting along the shoreline. The female was returned to Temiskaming Hospital and treated for exposure. She was kept under the authority of the Mental Health Act. The quick response and actions taken by Dave Lalone and Sergeant Kevin Murphy demonstrated the courage and compassion to save the life of an individual who was unknown to them. These officers not only put their own lives at risk and in danger, performing an act of bravery to protect the life of another person. Constable Derek Shillinglaw and Constable Kevin Adams greatly assisted from the Rocky Bank. They were prepared with rope and safety equipment ready to be deployed as needed. These officers took custody of the female subject and transporting her to the Temiskaming Hospital for medical treatment. Their support and assistance merit recognition. I did file a citation for life-saving and to the involved officers. I just thought I'd share that incident. It was great actions by our officers. We're proud of how they responded, and hopefully they get the proper recognition. In regards to staffing, I just wanted to give you a quick update in regards to the situation, so we have a good understanding of the detachments and the impact that we're having, or the trouble we're having in regards to resources. Presently, we have one Englehart member who's on LTIP, one Englehart member that's suspended with pay, and who is pending criminal code charges, and we have an additional member from Englehart who's on maternity leave. In regards to Temiskaming, we have two members that are presently off on WSIB, and then one who's accommodated. For Temiskaming detachment and our members, we have one member that's on WSIB, one is suspended with pay pending criminal code charges, and three that are accommodated with modified duties. And we also have a new member that's on maternity. So there's a great impact in regards to our resources, and this is why I'm looking for overfilling and looking for additional resources to be assigned or deployed to Temiskaming, Englehart, and Temiskaming. During the past quarter, there's a number of target media releases. Our CSO provided a number of media releases on all noteworthy incidents. Major incidents in our investigations were highlighted. The CSO also provided target media releases, which included but are not limited to the noted. In July, we have water safety, changes of CDSA, traffic safety media releases. In August, we had MAD award recipient information, Crime of the Week, Crime Stoppers, Good Samaritan Drug Overdose Act campaign, school bus safety information. And in September, we had information go out in regards to Melanie H.A. And we also participated and had media information on the Franco-Ontarian Day to mention French language and services that we're proud to provide to the Temiskaming detachment area. We also had media releases that touched on rail safety, bus safety, and multiple traffic safety warnings or cautions. In regards to crime and traffic campaign initiatives, during this quarter, there were 4 provincial traffic safety campaigns, one being Canada Day Week, and the focus on that campaign was life-saving equipment, and that went on between the 27th of June to the 5th of July. We also had the Operation Safe Driver campaign, and the focus was on the commercial motor vehicles and vehicles that surrounding the commercial vehicle operations. This impact was in place between the 11th of July to the 18th of July 2020. The third campaign that we participated in was the Civic Day-Long Weekend campaign. The focus was on the move over and the Big Four. And this occurred between the 31st of July to the 3rd of August. And finally, on the Labor Day long weekend, we had an initiative, and the focus was on the Big Four. And this was ongoing between the 4th of September to the 7th of September. For all these campaigns, the detachment operational plan, traffic plan was prepared. And the initiative was presented to all our members with expectations, and all our members participated fully. Our regional and detachment CSO provided considerable media coverage for each initiative. And one additional initiative that was geared to respond to a request by the Police Services Board was the Focus Patrol Initiative. That meant focus on highway safety and enforcement on Highway 11B between Main Street and Hillbrae to Whitewood Avenue in New Lisker. After my presentation, I can expand on this Focus Patrol Initiative. COVID is still here and active, impacting our resources and impacting the way we do our business. The office is open to public now, and we have strict guidelines, and they're strictly adhered to by our members. The good news about criminal record checks, it has returned to the Temiskaming detachment, and we on the 5th of October we started to do these criminal record checks. Initially, when it was returned to our responsibility, I believe we had in excess of 95 criminal record checks that were in the queue, that we were behind to provide the paperwork. And to date, I believe that we're up to date, and then we're just working on the new criminal record checks that are coming in to the office. Any questions so far in regards to any of the information I've provided?
Yeah, I do. Can individuals still do criminal record checks online, or do they have to go to your office?
The online, that's all reverted back to the office. They can acquire the paperwork from online, but they contact our office and we initiate the process, and then we require identification and signatures from our office, and we make the arrangements.
Okay. Just seems a lot of work. It's consuming, the admin staff. I just thought the online was going to be permanent. Yeah,
they tried to initiate this process, but the process in itself and the methods of payment, and then just how the information was to be gathered wasn't efficient. So they opted to return this function back to the office, and just like it used to be. So hopefully maybe a revisit in the future. The intention was to remove that task and that responsibility from the office, which consumes a lot of our time and attention. But for this time, it did not work out, so it's been returned to our responsibilities.
It's not a question. I just wanted to make a comment. I very much appreciated you bringing to our attention these commendable efforts that your staff did in this life-saving incident. So very much appreciated.
Any other comments? I'd just like to reiterate what Tyler said, Inspector. That's a very brave act for those two officers, putting their life in danger to save someone. Unfortunately, people don't hear or see very much about this, but it's a reality in the policing world, and the officers are out there daily, and I commend all of your officers for the job they're doing. And I'd like to take it a step farther, Monique, and thank your crew too, because you're doing an awful lot of work through your victim program to assist people and the police. So something I feel should be recognized too. Thank you.
Moving on to the next report, which is the Records Management System report, which highlights the number of calls for service in various categories. As you read through the report or peruse through the report, you will notice that it appears to be a significant decrease in the number of calls for service in certain categories. I did take the time to highlight some of the statistics on the major occurrences to present to the board a true picture of what these statistics mean. And I'm referring to more serious occurrences that may be of concern to the community. In regards to sexual assaults, there were 4 reported. I'd like to mark that that's a 55.6 decrease to the statistics that are provided in the previous year. But these 4 occurrences, very briefly, the one is the one incident that's alcohol related, and it's implicating a couple. The individuals that involved are well known to each other, and once police investigated and looked into the matter, alcohol was a great factor, and the details that were relayed were not quite as accurate as initially believed, and that allegation was unfounded. A second occurrence involved a 13-year-old member who was involved with a 15-year-old individual. The relationship was totally voluntary, but it is an infraction under the criminal code because of the age differences, and that's why we get involved. And the second one involves 2 siblings, being 2 siblings reported as being the victims, and it's a historical incident in nature, and it includes a family member doing some touching, and this matter is still under investigation. And a third incident that may be of concern to the board, to the community, is the robbery incident. The robbery incident, there's the one, and it's basically it's a shoplifting occurrences that where the individual was approached or confronted, that escalated to threats, and that's what escalated the seriousness of the incident, and it's still under investigation. So it's not one of those robberies on the street or anything like that. It's mainly a shoplifter incident that escalated. In regards to property crime, I'd like to mark or just point out there's a big decrease, it seems to be, of the occurrences reported. Break and enters, minus like 44% decrease, theft over 66% decrease, theft under 10%. It goes to fraud, 58% decrease. In regards to drugs, possession and trafficking, there's also a marked decrease. The overall decrease for drug-related occurrences is 38.5. In regards to the clearance rate, our officers remain dedicated to clear major investigations, well, in all investigations, and the clearance rate for violent crimes at 77.8%. Property crime 11.8%, and drug activity or crime 87.5%, which is consistent with the clearance rate that we try to maintain. In regards to criminal records and vulnerable sector screening checks, like I said, that's going to increase since October 5th we took on the responsibility. Just in passing, for criminal record checks, even with the present system that they introduced, it still impacted greatly on our DAC because they had to be involved in the process and they had to verify the identification and then be part of the process that they implemented for paying. So it's not much more of a stretch to have us complete the entire application, to tell you the truth. Moving on to the charges for the criminal code and provincial statutes. Because of the level of or decrease of incidents, there's also a decrease in the number of reported charges. It's considerable. For Highway Traffic Act, there's quite a bit of a decrease in the enforcement. There's so many factors that we can mention to attribute to that. The decrease in the traffic, the increase of our officers willing to be engaged and involved, and the cautions that are in place when we do deal with the traffic. So there's so many factors or variables that are responsible for this decrease. And along the same lines, criminal code, non-traffic related incidents, there's a 61.5% decrease in the number of charges. And same holds true for the traffic-related charges, considerable decrease in the number of enforcement in that category. In regards to motor vehicle collisions, and by the type, for July, August, and September, we have the one fatal incident. I believe that we're all familiar with this incident that occurred Highway 11B by Radley Hill. And personal injuries, there's 11. Property damage, there's 34. In regards to the property damage, that's a marked decrease to the same to the numbers that were recorded same quarter last year, or at the same time last year. Any questions at all in regards to these statistics, or?
Just, you had mentioned that you would elaborate a little bit on the traffic initiative on Lakeshore Road.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I can speak about the Focus Patrol initiative that we implemented. As a result of a request by the chair and by the board, effective the 18th of September to the 1st of October. It's still ongoing. It's going to go on until the 31st of October. There's direction in our office where there's a minimum of 1 hour per shift that is to be dedicated to traffic patrol and enforcement on Highway 11B. This is to curb the reports and the perception that there's a grave concern in regards to the traffic, the speeds by the motorists, and it just the initiative was to slow down the traffic and then to address and the concerns that were brought to the board's attention. So as a result of the initiative, I acquired the statistics of what we've done so far. So to date, we have 53 dedicated patrol initiative. And mind you, just to let the board know, this is in addition to the regular patrols that are expected from our members while they're on duty. There was 66.5 dedicated focus patrol hours that were dedicated by our officers. The results were 20 warnings were issued, and the reasons for the warnings vary considerably. They were from speeding to registration to fail to surrender compulsory automobile insurance registrations. And we also had 12 provincial offense notices that were issued. Of those 12 provincial offense notices, the highest speed that was registered was 121 in an 80 kilometer an hour zone. And the other ones were 111, 110, and the majority was just over 110. But within those 12 provincial offense notices, there's also one compulsory automobile insurance act violation, and one where the driver was charged for crowding a driver offense. So those are the statistics. From our perspective, traffic-related enforcement and then concerns are existent in all our areas. We have the communities, Latchford, for example, they've put in stop signs within their own community to try to lower the speeds. When we sit down with the boards in Englehart, they always bring to our attention different areas or zones that they believe there's a concerns in regards to high speeds or aggressive driving. We take the time and then we try to focus and direct our officers to those areas. It's an ongoing issue, but it's no different than the traffic that is traveling on Highway 11 in other municipalities. Frankly, the initiative did make a difference from my perspective, but if we focus in any area, it'll have the same effect. It's just a matter of being reasonable and then focusing our resources throughout the whole entire area. And then if there's such complaints that do surface, and then we'll try to put a little more attention to it. In regards to that, or other things that we've done in regards to this focus patrol, we've also had a lot of media releases. I'm sure you've all noticed of all the media attention and then the warnings and the cautions that our CSO are sending out to the community. Just ask them to slow down and then tell them about impaired driving, distracted driving, speeding and aggressive driving, and then seatbelt warnings. For example, we had an operational impact initiative that just happened. I briefly spoke about it. As a result of that operation impact, which was throughout our entire zone, we had 38 speedings, and then we had 3 moving violations. There were a press release that were distributed on that. So that was for a 3 or 4 day period. So the speeding and then those violations are there. It's just we have to show the colors and try to show people, slow people down. But it's not just 11B. I also did a traffic analysis. I had our analysis do a comparison of the last 4 years to see if we had a marked increase in bad traffic behavior on 11B. The statistics that I acquired vary greatly, and there's various explanations for each category. For example, it started from 2017. I asked that we get the numbers for the motor vehicle collisions. For 2017, we have 44. Traffic-related calls for service, we had 195. The occurrences where charges were late, we had 57. And we also had 3 impaired driving occurrences on that stretch of highway. 2018, we had 38 motor vehicle collisions. We had 170 calls for service. And we had 42 traffic-related charges and 4 impaired driving charges. 2019, we had 50 motor vehicle collisions, 211 calls for service, and 3 impaired driving occurrences. For 2020, up to date, we're at 18 motor vehicle collisions, 84 traffic-related calls for service. We have 29 traffic-related charges, and we have 1 impaired driving. So the numbers are consistent. For example, for the motor vehicle collisions, we did have an increase in 2019, but there's so many variables. You got the weather, you got the road maintenance, you've got so many things. But for this year, up to date is 18, but we still have a quarter to go. On average, we're a little below the collisions that transpired the last 3 years, but we still have 3 months to go, like I said. Any questions in regards to these stats or analysis? I'm just trying to show, is there a grave? I'm just trying to show a picture if there's a grave marked concern that we should be addressing. And I believe that it holds through throughout the whole entire area. Highway 11B is well traveled, I understand, and we will continue to show the colors, but we can't neglect the outlying areas either. So we'll do our best to disperse our resources accordingly.
Dan, did you have a question?
Take this off for a minute. Thanks for that. We walk twice a day. It's 5 kilometers each walk, so we probably see a lot more infractions than anybody else. But where would modified vehicles and running red lights, would that be under other when it comes to Highway Traffic Act?
Yeah, it depends on the category that you're looking for. If we have you got HTA other, you also have other provincial statutes which have like compulsory automobile insurance act. So which statistics are you referring to?
Yeah, like I'm just looking at page 84, and then we had asked about the vehicles that have oversized tires without flares and they're jacked up without flaps, and so where would they be calculated?
That'd be under other HTA,
Under other.
because those are HTA infractions.
And like I appreciate the extra effort you put on 11B and that, but we still have some very dangerous streets in the city. I mean, there's on average 4 U-turns a day on Broadwood, and it's a racing strip. So, unfortunately, Nipissing, somebody's going to be killed there, and then we're all going to be to blame. So, when the kids go flying up that hill, they can't see what's on the other side. So, like I say, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until somebody's killed. We'll all be to blame. And but I mean, I know you can't be everywhere, but the residents up there phone quite regularly, and we know who they are, but we're not allowed to beat them up behind the barn anymore, so.
Yeah, no, I understand your concerns, and then we try to address those. Every call for service or every call or complaint, we look into it. We encourage people to call in and be a witness, just letting us know and not willing to stand by what they're saying to bring the responsible individuals before the courts, or to have a charge lead. A lot of people are quick to call, but then when you want them to sign on the interview report so that we can proceed with charges, a lot of, not a lot, but some of the members are not willing to do that. Identification of the responsible individual is always difficult, but like I say, any report we take seriously. We do our best to find out who's responsible, and then if charges warrant, we will do that. We're going to keep on doing that. We deploy our resources to the best we can. We try to do it in a manner that is responsible. We understand where our busy spots are, where the majority of the traffic is, and that's where we try to focus. But we cannot neglect the other communities or other parts of the highway. So we do have limited resources, but we do our best to deploy them appropriately. There's other means or other methods that we're trying to put into place, and one of them is to get the speed sign, just set it up with volunteers, and then just show it to the public. Just part of it, the education, where this is your speed, you're traveling too fast, you're subject to a fine, and then hopefully that will slow them down. But we encourage the auxiliaries to do that. From my perspective, if I'm going to direct an officer to do radar enforcement, or radar patrol is going to be for enforcement, not for just education. I think a traffic stops for the individuals that are violating the HCA warrants a charge. So we will continue, and my messaging, like I said, we've got till the 31st for this focus patrol initiative. After this initiative is completed, I will not require the officers to put in a report on our focus patrol initiative, but I will request that they continue to patrol and then do the enforcement as we always did. And if it becomes an issue down the road, and then the board feels that it's important that we direct more patrols, then we'll revisit it at the time.
Yeah, like I say, I appreciate it. I appreciate the enforcement. The other thing you learn quickly is you're best to go stand there and watch with the people that phone you, because their interpretation of speeding and actual speeding is two different things. So you have to weed those out as well.
Yeah, and I totally appreciate the last few meetings there, the care and then of the ATVs and the use of the ATVs on our roads. That remains in every community, and this is a battle that we have constantly. We try to enforce it, we try to be proactive. It's very difficult, and those are the ones where are also very, very difficult to put in place a reactive process, because if you initiate a stop, you put the emergency lights on and the individual does not stop, we're kind of limited in what our authority or what we can do. A police chase on an ATV or off-road vehicle infraction doesn't warrant the risk that it may cause the individual driving the ATV or off-road vehicles, and also a risk to the public that may be on the streets at the time. So it's a difficult situation, but we do our best, and our CSO spends a lot of time and effort to try to educate. Try to warn the members of on over media or whatever media outlet that we can utilize, and then we're very open to any suggestion or that you may have to help us out for that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Inspector, for the report. I noticed we have on our agenda the report from April to June. I don't know whether you want to go over it in detail, or I can ask if any members have questions concerning that report also. I've looked it over. I don't, nothing jumps out. Dan, are you okay if we go on with without the actual going over line by line on the April to June report. We have that in our book. Did you have questions about that one? We just did the July to September one. And we also have the April till June. That was sent out to us earlier by the inspector, by Kelly. If there's something in there you want to go over, we certainly can.
Yeah, I believe Kelly distributed electronically to all the board members, and I was really open to many questions, concerns from you reading the report. There weren't too many questions, so if at any point there is, with this report and also this quarter's report, feel free to call me anytime, and I'll try to put some lights on your questions.
Okay. We'll do that, and we'll move on. I looked at, when I read the report, I like to look at the last line on the last page to see how many hours we're putting in, and I'm pleased to see we're down about 2,000 hours over this time last year by the last report we got out. So that certainly does benefit. Our costings are all figured out and averaged provincially, but it does a good job in keeping our calls for service in line. So I have before me a resolution 2020-22. Be it resolved that the Temiskaming Shores Police Service Board acknowledge receipt of the April to June and the July to September 2020 OPP Temiskaming Attachment Report. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Tyler and Monique. Are there any further questions? No further questions on the report? Oh, okay. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. The Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. I don't know if the board are totally aware, but the communities in the area have approached or had approached DSAB about doing a Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. And of course, when COVID hit, there was an extension put on the timelines to have it completed. We're, from DSAB's perspective now, we have sent out letters to all the communities to get them engaged again. Some letters we're getting back saying that they will look at it at the first of the year. Others we haven't heard from yet, so we need all of the municipalities to be involved in this for it to go to DSAB for the billing aspect of it, to get it out fairly fairly amongst all the users. So at this point, we're at a waiting game with DSAB, and I do have a meeting Wednesday evening, so I'll get an update at that point to see if we've heard back from more of the communities, so we can get this plan out there and get it moving forward. And we'll see what happens from there. We certainly want it to get it, as I said, we're into our budgeting process with DSAB, so I can report back further after our meeting, but as of the other day, I believe we had heard back from 3 or 4 townships and then heard from another area that have put it on the back burner until the first of the year. So time is running out, it needs to get finished, so it's probably going to have to come back to councils to make some decisions if everybody's not going to get involved in it. So that's basically where we stand with that plan right now. Yes, Monique?
When is the new due date for this plan to be put in place, you know?
Dan, do you remember the new due date for the plan?
On the plan itself?
Yes.
Yeah, the only thing I know about the plan is last time we met with Minister Jones, is she was pretty adamant on the best before date. She wasn't considering any extensions, so.
No, do you remember what that date was, though, that they brought it forward to? No, I'm not 100% sure.
So I don't think it changed from January 2021, correct? Or
I can't answer that because I don't know for sure, but not that I'm aware of, but if it hasn't, that doesn't give us a lot of time to do it, so, yeah. Okay, any other questions concerning that? The off-road vehicle bylaw, that we do have a municipal bylaw regulating the use of off-road vehicles on our streets. We've reviewed the act, reviewed what we have in our bylaws as far as the extreme terrain vehicles and the off-road motorcycles. We have not changed our bylaw. We have chose to leave our bylaw the way it is. There's a section in here that very simply states, if the are only permitted on municipal roads if a bylaw was passed after July 1st, 2020, and we have not passed a bylaw to include those. My opinion was to include them, to exclude them, but at this point they are not allowed on the streets. Other ATVs are, and we do have regulations out there for the ATVs on using the streets, what streets they can and cannot use, particularly cannot use. I will also say, you know, if a club that works with off-road vehicles had a plan where it required the help of the city to get from point A to point B, we would probably be more than glad to help them do that. It's not that we don't want them. They're a great asset. They're a great recreational vehicle to use, again, if used properly. So we are not changing our bylaw from its present form at this time. Kirkland Lake have also taken that stance on it. Item number C under unfinished business, provincial appointee vacancy. Yes, we do have a vacancy, and I believe there's at least 2 names in there that I know of, and we have not heard anything back yet. It's not unusual for the appointment department of the government to take their time in doing these appointments. At one point, there was about 135 vacancies throughout Ontario at least. There were some police service boards that couldn't have meetings because they didn't have enough to attend. We're quite fortunate. We still have quorum, and hopefully we will get that appointee. I didn't get any updates at my last OAPSB meeting concerning vacancies, but I do have another meeting coming up. So any questions concerning unfinished business, section 10? Yes, Dan?
Just quickly, the single biggest complaint on C, provincial appointee vacancy, the single biggest complaint under the police service board review is the province's inability to fill vacancies, which is a provincial responsibility, not a municipal. Yeah. And it's the only problem that was raised by municipal police service boards. So yeah. Shows you we're a lot further ahead than they are.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, under item 11, new business. My board of directors report. I don't have a lot to report to you because of COVID. We've been having virtual meetings. We had a meeting in August, and there is another meeting coming up on November 4th. Again, a virtual meeting. And then on November 12th and 13th is the fall seminar. We call it the labor seminar. This year's seminar does not have, it has very little, if anything, on there concerning Section 10s. So we're not, proposing to join it. I may as a director. If I do, my costs are covered as a director. But there's very little on there on this labor seminar for Section 10s. The only other report I can give you concerning that is our spring conference. It is usually held in May. Was scheduled to be held in Niagara Falls this year. We have canceled the contract with the hotel in Niagara Falls simply because we don't know what COVID's going to bring us between now and May. So we are at this point saying that the spring conference will also be virtual. Should things clear and we are able to have an in-person meetings, our organizer that looks after that does not feel there would be an issue getting another venue to hold it. Probably not Niagara Falls, maybe something a little more central. But their idea of central is a lot different than mine too. So, but at this point, it's all virtual with them, so as everybody else. So I really have nothing else to report on that. And like I say, I have another meeting on November 4th. Okay, item B, OPP police contract renewal. Let me make sure I'm straight here. Okay, the contract renewal, that's the contract is between the City of Temiskaming Shores and the Solicitor General. It's not between the board. We simply review these and they go on to the council for their approval. The contract itself is a general contract. It's the same contract that comes out basically every year with a few minor changes probably. I didn't compare it word for word with last year, but it's simply the procedure on engaging the OPP into a contract for their services. So unless there's questions that I can answer or Joelle can, we'll have a motion on this. Do you have any questions on the contract? Okay, seeing none, just let me go back to this page. Resolution 2020-23. Be it resolved that the Temiskaming Shores Police Services Board acknowledges the receipt of the OPP policing contract renewal and further recommends that the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores enter into a 5-year agreement with the Solicitor General for policing services effective January 1st, 2021. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Tyler?
Did you say it was a 5-year contract? Or isn't it a 3-year contract?
Okay, Kelly has that answer.
Okay, so I asked the same question because in the actual agreement, they have a date. And that is, because that is the minimum you can go. So that's the first deadline you could pick, but we could have picked 3, 4, 5, or 6 years. It's just dependent on what council decides. So I spoke with Chris and said, you know, what would be the best route, and he had suggested the 5-year is what would be the norm. So in here, it does say in this draft agreement, it does, but the information from Kelly was that it's really up, because this is just a draft agreement, it's up to the board to recommend to council the term. So Chris said, we'll go with 5 unless the board has concerns with that. And then that would be what we recommend to council.
So it'll be modified accordingly.
I would let, before the agreement was finalized, I would let Kelly Withgrow know that we selected 5 years. The agreement would be adjusted accordingly.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I call a question. All in favor? Carried. Next item, item C on our agenda, 11C, the 2021 billing estimates. Whoops, that's of the Police Service Board. Okay. We just had the contract under that first one, Kelly. We have the policing services billing statement too.
Yes.
So,
in correspondence.
yeah, I have it. I was just looking for a motion on it.
There's the actual.
Yeah, I have that. That's our board contract, right?
It was part of the board contract as well, but then this was separate.
Okay, let me see how. Let me see how it reads. Yeah.
So this number is the number that I included in the budget, which was in here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now I got you. Sorry about that. Okay. So, has everybody had a chance to review these figures? Are there any questions, Colonel Dan? Yes?
We can discuss them now. We don't have to have a mover seconder. We're good?
I can do whatever way you want. I can.
Or are we going to do a resolution on this? Maybe you want to do a resolution,
Okay.
then we'll discuss it then.
Okay. I have Resolution 2024, be it resolved that Temiskaming Shores Police Service Board hereby acknowledges receipt of the 2021 billing estimates in the amount of $2.510135 million, and further directs the board secretary to provide the estimates along with the Police Service Board budget as presented to council for their consideration and approval. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Dan and Monique. Okay, any questions, Dan?
Yeah, just, unfortunately, this time of year is always unfair to the OPP, in my opinion, because they give us their total costing, but what they're never provided with, because it's municipal business, is the revenues. So I did some searching on old papers I have at home, and I can't find all the various programs that we're allowed to apply for over the year. But those aren't, we sign the contract amount and those are applied afterwards. So they, you know, this number actually is a little bit inflated because it doesn't take in revenues. The other thing I can't find, and we'll have to, I'll bring it up during our council meeting tomorrow night, is the city administers POA and we keep a portion of that for administration, but the percentage of the fines doesn't come back to the OPP contract that I can find. So that's over on the city side of accounting, not on the Police Service Board side of accounting. So again, that inflates these numbers a little bit. So it'd be nice if we could be clear and have them all listed. It would give us a true value of the contract rather than a guesstimate. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, like I told you, I have discussed that earlier, and obviously didn't get any, or not earlier this year and other years, and didn't get anywhere with the idea that you have, because I had the same idea. It is revenue collected through policing, so it should reflect into the cost of policing, and it doesn't. So, you know, some of the programs do, the grants do, the court security and prisoner grant, that reflects back as revenue offsetting. So, yes, it's true. We're asking for traffic initiatives, but really the board gets nothing back out of those initiatives other than the great satisfaction that they're being done and traffic is being slowed down, but we're not getting revenue back. So, like Dan said, he's going to bring it up tomorrow night for discussion at council, and we'll see what happens there. So, anyways, you know, I reviewed the figures. I'm kind of pleased. I think this year it shows that, and that's without the prisoner grant and stuff in there, that I think you're up less than 2% for the overall rise in it, and there's, you know, substantial statements. I think my calculations, it went up $46,000, a $2.5 million contract. So I believe that that's very efficient. Some of the rates went down, some of them went up. Interesting to note, we lost 6 municipalities, but that's OMPAC lost them, I guess. So, but they also work on figures from approximately 5 years ago when they're figuring things out. So that's where the difference is. So the cost per household in the beginning is down $575, but then as we get into the calls for service, overtime, court security, and what have you, that reflects it back. But my calculations are that our overall increase was, I believe, 1.84%. So I think that's pretty reasonable in that size of contract money.
Sorry, to come back to revenue, what about police checks, like those police checks? Is that a revenue that we get, or where's that covered?
Yeah, all funds collected in regards to criminal record checks should be returned to the municipality or the residents of the individual making an application.
Not in there either.
It's scored according to the individual's residence, and then those funds should be returned to the municipality.
Yeah,
that's my understanding.
They do come back to the municipality, but again, it doesn't look like they're in our. I thought they were, but I guess not. No, they're not. So that's something else, Dan, that we can bring up tomorrow night. That revenue. See where it's going. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of that motion? Motion carried. We do not have any bylaws. We do not have a closed session. So our schedule of meetings are January 18th, 2021, April 19th, July 19th, and October 18th for next year. Anything comes up between those meetings, of course, we can have a meeting at the call of the chair. Item 15, adjournment. I have resolution number 2020-25. Be it resolved that the regular meeting in Temiskaming Shores Police Service Board hereby adjourns at 2 p.m. Wasn't that a coincidence? Mover and a seconder, please. Monique and Tyler. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody.